I was going to present them this $1 million offering, but deep inside of me, I was like, dude, would they really pay for this? This is expensive. And so I steered away from the $1 million offering and then offered them the $100,000 offering instead. Built a business case around it, and they ended up saying yes. So I let my definition of expensive be their definition of expensive.
And it was all masked to the business because you hit your quota and you were the #1 rep.
They were high-fiving each other. I was high-fiving them whenever I closed that $100,000 deal. They didn't get what they needed. Their problem still persisted. And so they ended up going to a competitor of ours that was not afraid of having that $1 million conversation with them.
The scarcity mindset is so prevalent with Asians specifically. At TigerBeetle, we don't have any quotas.
First time hearing this.
We've taken that out of the equation, the quota component, because we don't believe it builds long-term trust with companies. Thanks everyone for joining today. I'm really excited for our special guest today. His name's Dave Wan. He's a dear friend of mine now, but we met on LinkedIn and still haven't done our Korean barbecue experience, but that'll come. He's another fellow Korean American. He's a money mindset sales coach. So we'll get into what that means exactly in a little bit. But I'm really excited to have you here, Dave. You know, we're in different parts of the country. You're near Des Moines. I'm in San Diego, but I feel like we're kindred spirits. And most of you might wonder also why I'm in this red, because I never wear red. I always wear black like my friend.
I should be wearing red like you. But yeah.
Be the Reds, man. Yeah, but I'll show the kind of Korea logo here. Today's a very special match against South Africa. So I think we have to win or at least draw to move on to the knockout round. So we're both hopeful Korea will get a win here. But with that intro, Dave, let you intro yourself. I don't think I could do you justice. Would love to just start with what you do today, and then we can work back to how you got to where you are.
Yeah, thanks, Peter, so much for having me. I am a money mindset sales coach, and I help B2B sellers and sales teams overcome their limiting money beliefs that is actually hindering so many sellers and sales teams from actually reaching their revenue potential. Salespeople know what they need to do. They're given the skills, training, tools, and resources to succeed, but they still have some of these costly behaviors, and it's all tied to how they see money, the assumptions they have about money, and that actually comes out and impacts their ability to sell. So it's been fun. I'm working with some exciting companies, and yeah, I'm just really glad to be here chatting with you.
Thanks, Dave. No, I was super excited about this because you and I have talked about this. There's so many sales coaches out there. There's so many sales training methodologies, but I haven't met anybody who really frames it in the way you have, and I think gets to the root of why certain sellers or most sellers can't hit the numbers that they want to hit. And so we'll dive into that. But before that, like, how did you even get here, right? Because we haven't talked about this, but you were even in the Air Force, right? You've had quite the career. So can you like maybe give a synopsis? It can be a long kind of story too if you want, but I'm just curious to hear, like, how did you even get to being a money mindset sales coach?
Yeah, so this all started way back when I was younger. And I have my mom and dad who unfortunately passed in the last 3 or 4 years, but they came from Korea. And they immigrated from Korea, and they just struggled a lot financially. And I saw the pain that they went through, and I realized that I don't want to be in that situation when I'm older. Mm-hmm. So I joined the military. I went to the Air Force Academy, graduated, became a second lieutenant in the Air Force, and I started to make, my first year post-college, I was making $60,000 a year. And to avoid what my parents went through, I was budgeting like a madman, understanding where every penny was going. And I'm like, okay, I think this is it. But despite like knowing the math and understanding what to do, I still felt this like underlying tension and unease and anxiety about, oh man, should I be spending that money? Should I be saving more? Should I be saving less? There's so much anxiety around these decisions that it just like handcuffed me. And so, for instance, one of the ramifications of that was I put 0 cents. I contributed nothing to my 401k, the military's versions of the 401k, during my 20s, even though I knew what the math was going to be, what the match was going to be, what that was going to look like in 30 years. I already knew the math, but that didn't matter. Something was holding me back, and that's the anxiety I'm talking about, right? And so, so that happened starting in 2010, but then 2016 came around. I bought my house in Colorado, and 2 days after I bought my house, I just suffered this massive panic attack. And I actually talk about that panic attack a little bit in my TED Talk.
Yeah, I listened
and
to
then
that.
that panic attack, that panic attack had nothing to do with the house, but it just revealed a bunch of underlying unaddressed emotions about money that I just couldn't really understand. And that started like a 6-year journey of me trying to understand, why did I go through that panic attack? And a lot of the stories that were driving that were like fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty, fear of running out of money one day. All these stories where I'm like, okay, where did this come from? And that came from just different experiences and interactions and observations over the course of my life.
Yeah. And at this point, when you bought the house, were you in sales, or when did that pivot happen?
I was still in the Air Force, and I was actually teaching at the Air Force Academy at that time.
Okay. Got it. And when did the opportunity reveal itself where, you found your first sales role, and when was the light bulb moment where you're like, you know what, like my experiences in the Air Force and childhood are now impacting my quota, right?
Yeah. So like, after I bought my house, I suffered this massive panic attack, and I'm like, why? I'm doing everything right on paper, but how come I had this series of panic attacks? How come I just had this unease about the situation? And it was all those stories I just mentioned that were driving it. It just created a lot of anxiety. And so what I thought about money actually led to those panic attacks and the anxiety that I had. And so after I left the Air Force, I joined this cybersecurity company as a seller in 2019. And quickly, my discipline and work ethic just like shot me up to the top. Like I was the top seller, back-to-back years.
The Korean hustler mindset.
and I did really well. I did really well. But it wasn't until, so I quit that job in 2022 and went off on my own. But it wasn't until 2024 when I realized, I looked back on my career and I'm like, okay, I was the top seller, but how come I still failed in so many ways? So I looked at opportunities that I should have won, opportunities that were like heartbreaks of mine.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, what happened here? So I took the opportunity, paused it, stretched it out, and I was like, why did this fail?
Yeah.
It wasn't a no decision.
I love that.
It wasn't a no decision, or it wasn't like lack of budget. Like what really happened?
And I like that, because so many people would have said, hey, I'm the top rep, so I did well, right? And,
I'm the top
there's
rep.
Not much I can improve on, but you had that learner mindset of like wanting to see with every single deal what happened. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off, but I thought I'd kind of shine a light on that. That's great. That's pretty unique in and of itself.
No, exactly. And like, I could share one story where there was a client of ours, and we were working on, I was going to present them this $1 million offering that was going to be perfect for their solution, or perfect for their situation. But deep inside of me, I was like, dude, would they really pay for this? This is expensive.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was I projected my definition of, holy crap, this is going to be expensive, as if it should be his. And so I steered away from the $1 million offering and then offered him the $100,000 offering instead. Built a business case around it, and they ended up saying yes. So I let my definition of expensive be their definition of expensive. I let my own sensitivity around price be his sensitivity. Some of the money beliefs that were like driving this decision, or driving my behavior, was my decision making was, yeah, this is expensive, so he wouldn't pay for it. Oh, by the way, if he says no to the $1 million offering, I get nothing in commission. And I have a mortgage to pay. I got kids to feed. I can't afford to walk away with nothing. I'd rather walk away with something than nothing. True scarcity in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, $100,000 offering. Okay, he says yes to that. My commission looks like this. I'm doing the math in the background. And, growing up in a family where we didn't have much, being in conversations where $1 million deals were talked about, dollar amounts were talked about, was something that was kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
totally makes sense. I mean, I've had the same experience. I mean, even like $100,000, $200,000 is a lot of money for the average American, right? Or the average person in the world. No, but keep going. I cut you off. No, I totally resonate with all of this. Yeah.
No, it's like, man, do I even belong in this room? And even if it's going to result in me leaving money on the table, I was going to do something. I was going to choose the path that was going to make me feel comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the anxiety wasn't going to be as high.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And so that's the opportunity I look back on. And I'm like, holy crap. My money beliefs actually, I was projecting them onto the client. And I didn't even realize that was the case. And that was the light bulb moment for me. So I've had my business for like almost 10 years now. 8 of those years, seven and a half of those years. Yeah, thanks, man. 7 and a half of those years.
I'll be waiting for the text for the 10-year anniversary when you're cooking up hot dog or something as a celebration. Anyways, yeah.
But yeah, dude, 7.5 years of that was in personal finance. And it was all kind of related to helping people get out of credit card debt, but not focusing on the number side, but like why they're in credit card debt, right? And so the same like underlying emotions were like then transitioned over to the corporate side, not at a deep level, but just at a like just one level deep, and addressing what are some of the money beliefs that sellers are carrying that they're projecting onto the client, projecting onto the opportunity, and how is that impacting the conversation? How is that impacting their relationship with clients? And are they leaving money on the table as a result of it? And for me, it's like, holy crap, I left $900K on the table as a result of that. And then what does my commission look like because of that? Oh my goodness, that's my commission. And then they didn't renew as a result of this. They went to another client.
They needed. Yeah.
They didn't get what they needed. Their problems still persisted. And so they ended up going to a competitor of ours that was not afraid of having that $1 million conversation with them.
Yeah, yeah. And it was all masked to the business because you hit your quota and you were the number one rep, right? So
yeah,
the leadership team didn't realize it likely.
They were high-fiving each other. I was high-fiving them whenever I closed that $100,000 deal. On paper and on the CRM and email exchanges, none of this was talked about. This was all going through my head.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a couple things there. I think, first of all, the scarcity mindset is so prevalent with Asians specifically, with like Korean culture, immigrant cultures. I'm sure a lot of my listeners will resonate with that because a lot of them come from Korea or other immigrant families. And then the second thing is, one thing I talk a lot about with my clients is just try not to make any assumptions, right? And this is an assumption that a lot of people make around price. Right, being too expensive or too cheap, even, right? So, I love that you're putting a finger on this. Can I ask you?
But I think a layer. But I think a layer behind that, or layer deeper than that, is your money is always on the line.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the payout or the commission that you could get from that deal, most sellers are like holding on to it, thinking it's theirs before it's even theirs.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And as a result, people get very protective. They try to preserve what they can. They project some of these beliefs, assumptions on what they think about money onto the client. And so it goes deeper than scarcity. It's like there's fear of rejection is one of them. Yeah. And unworthiness is another one, right? So
yeah, totally. I don't know that I've mentioned this actually, but at TigerBeetle, we don't have any quotas. Did I mention this?
First time hearing this.
Yeah, we've taken the quota off the table completely. I still think what you're saying around unworthiness, fear of rejection is still there, right? Even when I'm, working with potential customers. right? But we've taken that out of the equation, the quota commission component, because we don't believe it builds long-term trust with companies. And what you said really resonated. A lighter deal doesn't help the customer necessarily just because it helps their budget. You need to actually look at, are we solving the problem? Not over just like the next year, but the next 5 to 10 to 30 years, right? So yeah, anyway, so I guess it's a surprise to you because I've never mentioned it, but we've intentionally taken that out of the equation. So I'm curious what you think about that actually.
I have to sit on that one for a little bit, but the first question that comes to mind is, how does TigerBeetle, what does success look like for a rep?
Yeah. So first of all, I haven't hired any reps, by the way. I don't know if I've told you that either, because I want to go through the motion. It's a financial database, right? And so I want to make sure that I'm credible with our customers first. But for myself, and when we hire a team, for me, success is this currently kind of what the public thinks of as a fuzzy metric, which is building trust. But I think it can actually be tactically unwound. And there's multiple things that I think about situationally. If my founder or I get on a call, a recorded call, let's say, because that's so prevalent now, am I proud of the brand reputation, the approach the rep is taking, right? Secondly, are we actually thinking about the next 5 to 10 years, what the customer needs, not what the price tag says? Thirdly, are we able to actually confidently explain why our price is the price, so that our customers also don't have this kind of confusion around like, are you padding it? Is there a negotiation? Is there not? When is there a negotiation? When is there not a negotiation? And so I think those are measures of success that ultimately lead to hopefully like as many customers feeling like, hey, I'm actually getting high quality support and service from TigerBeetle, and I'm able to solve my real-time transactions pain. So yeah, those are the things I think about. It's still forming, right? Like what that might look like, which is why I'm also going slow to hire a team, because it's very non-traditional, and implicit in that is that most sales reps, the way they've been trained, we can't hire, is my belief.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So anyway, sorry, this is more for you, but I appreciate you asking the question.
I love the free flow back and forth here. That's really interesting. You know, one of the questions I do ask people is, if you got full OTE, regardless of what your performance is, there's no pressure. You wouldn't care. You just show up and do your work.
If not, you're saying, let me unpack that. It's not that they don't care. It's certain people won't care if they're driven by hitting quota, right, and making an uncapped commission, right? But I think my belief also is that elite sellers actually don't optimize for commission check. Like the truly like elite folks that enjoy the craft of sales, there's something higher than commission that they look for.
That's the elite group that I want everybody to get there.
Yes,
everybody
exactly.
To get to,
yes,
right?
Yes, totally.
And the work that I do is typically,
which is why I was so drawn to your work, actually, because every other sales coach is like, how are you going to hit quota? Like, what is it next quarter? Like, how are you going to do pipeline review? But it's like, that's all surface level, right? There's like a deep rooted kind of like mentality you need to grow, right? So
yeah, and like the elite sellers, they're so good at what they do, and they go beyond like all the surface level stuff.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know what percentage you would attach to that, but let's just say they're in the top 5%. I don't know, right? Top 5% of sellers. Yeah. The work that I do impacts, I want to say like 80% of sellers that are out there, right? And so that's like the middle pack, right? The middle movers, right? And so the elite sellers may or may not need, to hear my message, but it's the middle 80 that is pretty.
I still think they do, actually. I still think elite sellers need to hear that, because I think there's a lot of pressure for elite sellers to operate differently, right? Even from their direct managers. How many times is a manager putting their own assumptions on the deal when an elite seller knows they shouldn't be discounting, but the manager also has that pressure, right?
100%. Yeah.
So
because
I think it's still great what you're doing and impacts the elite sellers to be heard, actually, because I think elite sellers know that quota, all of this stuff is vanity, right? But the true marker of success is, do you have a 30-year customer, right? That's what the CEO cares about. That's what the, like the folks who invested in the business care about, right? Or should care about.
yeah.
Anyways, sorry. Yeah. That's sorry. I know we're riffing, but I'm
No,
speaking a lot more than I expected. But I appreciate
no,
you
no. This is great, man.
bringing
Like,
this up.
but
Yeah.
like even like the OTE question that I have, I throw it out there as a measurement of whether there's pressure or not, right? For most sellers is what I'm talking
Yes.
about, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so if you were given your entire OTE,
Yep.
the pressure will be off and you can
Yes.
just perform.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Pressure often is positive way. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. But when the pressure is on and you're like, I need to make that money, and it's not even like what you think about when you see the price, but
Yep.
it's your bank account that you're thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Right,
that's
as far as the commission goes, for most sellers, right? A lot of people are in sales because they want to make a lot of money, right? A lot of them
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of them are. And so, whenever the
Yeah.
pressure is on, their beliefs and their assumptions and how they think about money will always show up.
Yeah. I'm glad you're bringing up this
in
word
so many
pressure.
deals.
Pressure too, because pressure often is seen as a positive thing in sales, right? That you need pressure to perform, but I think I don't think that's the case, right? Especially if you're looking at the long term for the business. But yeah, anyways, I think this is really good. I want to know, because your, I think, root values and the pillars that you're talking about, I think are so important for every sales team to hear. So how does it work when somebody's like, okay, Dave, like I'm sold, not bought, I'm sold, I'll say, right? And I want to bring you into my company. How do you think about starting a coaching session, right? Because this is so radically different from what people are used to, I'm guessing. And I see that from your testimonials, right? So can we talk a little bit about that? Like tactically, like how do you go about leading these workshops and starting to change people's mindsets? Because I'm guessing it doesn't happen in an hour, right?
No, it doesn't happen in an hour. So the two big umbrellas that I work on, the two big buckets. One of them is keynote speaking. So whether that's at a kickoff or a national sales meeting or whatever that's like, that's that. My other offering is, like you said, a team workshop. And so what I do here is I typically lead. It's about a half-a-day workshop with a team, a group of sellers in a room. And I go through my framework, and my framework is called Unlock, right? It's called the Unlock framework. And half of the Unlock, so each letter is an acronym, is part of the acronym, but it goes through like uncovering your patterns with money first. And I have like 4 different levels of awareness that I want sellers to be aware of, right? But the first one is to be aware of their own habits and patterns with their own money. And I do that I have a diagnostic, and the diagnostic will reveal, it's archetypal, right? So it'll reveal a list of archetypes that you're attached to. And that archetype, each archetype will reveal some of your core money characteristics, how you see money, some of the patterns and habits that you have with money, and how they translate to different sales behaviors and the impact it has on sales as a result of those behaviors. And so going through that motion is insane, Peter, because the light bulbs just start going off in people's heads.
Yeah.
And then once you, a deeper level than that is, what are some of the money beliefs that you've adopted over the course of your life?
Yeah.
Maybe a common money belief might be, talking about money ruins relationships. Maybe you heard at the dinner table, Peter, stop talking about money. That's bad to talk about, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's people that do that, right? Or rich people are snobs. And it's like, well, I don't want to be rich now. I don't want to be a snob when I grow up. So I'm not like, these are very subtle
totally.
things that you've adopted over the course of your life that put a
I've
ceiling.
I've definitely felt that at some point in my life. Rich
That
people
put a
are
ceiling
snobs.
over your head, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Or, man, who am I to charge these premium prices? I'm not worth that much, you know?
Yeah. And I think also, I mean, I'm going to ask this because I think I know the answer to this, but these money beliefs, it doesn't discriminate between whether you come from a low income household or a wealthy household, right? Like there's still like, what do you call it? These archetypes don't discriminate against your wealth, right? Like we all have these beliefs no matter where we are in life socioeconomically.
Yeah, it impacts everybody across the board. It doesn't matter what race, gender, it doesn't matter what you are. Each person is a human being that was once young at one time, right? And over the course of your life, you just adopt all these things through observations, things you've heard, things you've seen, things you've experienced. And like, I remember my parents, I went into their bedroom once. I was like fifth grade or something. And I saw like a bag just full of cash, just massive amounts of cash. Sure. Pretty much like putting money under their mattress, right?
Sure.
And I remember like my dad going, make sure your money's in savings, because if it leaves savings, you're going to lose it. If you put money in the stock market, it's an absolute gamble. Like, these were just stories and observations and things I heard over the course of my life that just really made me hesitate, right?
Yeah.
And so when it came to like taking risks, I didn't have a high tolerance for that, right? And that's something I had to realize what was going on and then go, no, this is actually not true. And then you take baby steps towards overcoming it. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I've overcome it by a long shot, but it did take me some time to even get there. So like half of my workshop is the awareness part. And part of that awareness part is, once I go through the archetype and the money beliefs and some of the behaviors that come with it, I then have folks identify a closed lost deal that was just a heartbreak for them sometime over the last 6 to 12 months. And then I have like a series of questions that kind of guide them through that journey, and then go, where did these actually show up? Because the official closed lost reason says one thing in the CRM, but in your heart, in your mind, you know it might be something different. Right? And so that's when the light bulb just starts going off even more, and then we just have this really rich conversation, right? And then from there, part of the archetypes, there's 8 archetypes. 2 of them are warrior and magician. And if you're at 70% or more on both of them, I would consider you an elite seller.
Interesting.
Right?
I want to take this diagnostic.
I would love for you to take it. I'll send it to you after
Okay.
after
I'd love
this.
that. Yeah.
But now it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Like, even I've had teams take it. I've taken a look at all the results, and I'm like, hey, sales leader, EVP, I want to guess that these 2 guys are probably your top 2 sellers. Is that true?
Oh, wow. And it's accurate.
Yeah, accurate to the T.
Wow.
There was another one where this person took the test, had a very unique result. I've never had this result before, but I looked at it, and afterwards we started having conversations with the leader, and I'm like, because what I do is I take that results and I provide extra information to the leaders so they could coach them well with added data, right? Instead of like, come on, your territory doesn't suck. How come you keep doing this, or whatever it is? Like, they have extra data on why the seller behaves the way they do. And this was just in my head, but the leader said, we're already moving this person to a customer success role because we believe they're better fit for it. And the diagnostic actually revealed that.
Wow, interesting.
right?
Wow.
Their skill
Yeah.
sets was not
Yeah.
to be a seller. It was actually, you know, the role after, once they
Yeah, yeah.
established that
That's
contract and that
so great
relationship.
because quotas are often made up, right? And they could be inaccurate how they're set. So to have like another data point or another few data points, I think is really helpful.
Yeah.
Can I ask, by the way, because what is the typical size of team you work with? Because from our text messages, like you're working with some big brands, right? So
Yep.
first, like, yeah, answer that first, and then I have a second part. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to keep it small enough to where it's intimate,
I like that. Yeah.
but I want it big enough to where it makes sense time wise, investment wise, and just ROI for the company, right?
That makes
And
sense. Yeah.
so the number fluctuates between like 25 and like 60 people
Okay.
in the
Great.
room. In the room, right? So
Sure.
we're not talking super small where it's like one person, which I wouldn't
Sure.
do, but we're also not talking like 10,000 people because then it's not intimate and it
That
doesn't
makes sense.
it feels like you're not there, right? But if
Until
it's
you have like a
between
bunch
like
of Dave Wands out there,
but it feels
hosting
like
like
if you have
breakout sections.
yeah, but if you have like 25 to 60.
Yeah.
Now, can it be higher than that? Of course, but like
Of course.
that's
Of
like
course.
the
Yeah, and you could
the
break
tight
up the groups
range.
too, right? If you're going after
Yeah,
a large team. The reason why I ask that is because I think these beliefs and making sure the mindset is healthy with like your relationship with money, I think spans all sizes of companies. So I'm wondering, because like for my listeners, there's going to be startups, there's going to be sellers in larger companies, there's going to be founders, right? Is there a way like they can get access to, obviously I'm going to put your LinkedIn so they can follow you because you put a lot of content out there, but the archetypes that you're talking about, right? What is warrior versus magician? I think that could be really helpful to seed early on, especially because I'm hopeful that a lot of these founders will grow their sales teams, right? So are there ways they can get access to some of this unlock workshop without you physically being there?
right now it's set up to where I have to physically be there, or we could do a virtual workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some of the information in my workshop I have not revealed publicly,
That makes
right? Because
sense. Yeah.
I want to keep it
Yeah.
behind. I keep some information gated.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um,
Yeah.
and the archetype stuff is really valuable. So I have some people have said I should reveal it. I just haven't done it myself.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
talk about everything else to kind of like tiptoe the conversation and go
Yeah.
like you use the word breadcrumbs, right? A lot. I read your
Yeah,
book,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm leaving like breadcrumbs out
I
there to
love that.
go, oh, I think there might be a connection here as to why
Yeah.
my sellers do X, Y, and Z, right?
Totally, totally. And I ask because like I said, this is very breath of fresh air unique when I came across it. Um, why are sales coaches or sales training methodologies, like why are they not circling around this, you think? And do you see any methodologies or trainings starting to shift towards this even a little bit, or do you think like most sales training is still missing the mark? I've done my fair share of like auditing sales training just from like a coaching perspective, but also having been in the room. And I wish I had something like this because mindset and mentality is something I harp on with my clientele and with my previous teams and hopefully my future team with TigerBeetle. But yeah, why is the sales training landscape so broken? I mean, there's so many hundreds of billions of dollars being thrown into this, and I think most are missing the mark, right? So, what's your opinion on that?
You can't fix a an emotional problem with a practical solution.
That's powerful. Yeah, and there's so many emotions involved with sales, right?
So many
Yeah,
emotions, right? And especially, I mean, one of the most common phrases is like buyers buy with emotion, then justify it with logic.
yeah.
And
Wow,
one
that's
and
powerful. Yeah,
yeah, and that's a very common. I don't know who came up with it, but like
Yeah.
it's widely spread. But
Oh, is that wow? It's the first time I'm hearing it, but
buyers
it
buy
very
with
powerfully resonates with me.
buyers buy with emotion,
Mm-hmm.
but then they justify it with logic,
Hmm.
right? So the logic part
Mm-hmm.
is, oh, the product market fit is there, the timeline, the ROI. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's not what they lead with. They lead with emotion first. The relationship has to be there. How do they feel about it?
Yeah.
Just so many different things. They lead with that first.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why sales training misses the mark, and I'm not, and the skills is important, right? You obviously cannot be a good seller without the skills.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
that's
That's
a given.
baseline.
That's a
Yeah.
given, right? But I think the reason why sales training doesn't talk about this, they do talk about this, but they miss the mark. They just glaze over it. For example, I talk about attachment, like don't be attached to the deal.
Mm-hmm.
They say that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You need to detach from the deal. You need to detach from the outcome. My follow-up question to that is, what are you actually detaching from?
Mm.
And then they're going to be like,
Yeah.
oh, you're detached from the outcome. Just don't think about the outcome.
That's such a broad statement.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
glaze over it. So it's not like they miss what I'm talking about. They just don't go behind. They just don't dig a little deeper and go, why is that happening? So for me, my follow-up question to that is, what are you detaching from? You're not detaching from the outcome. You're detaching from money,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
telling sellers to detach from money, which is the very thing they need to have to make a living.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yeah.
so my
Money
conclusion,
and
my
fear of
conclusion
rejection,
is,
like you said, unworthiness, right? Yeah, all of that, which is
and
all
my
related. Yeah.
yeah, my conclusion is you cannot detach. You can't.
You just have to be aware.
You have to be aware and and have a hyper understanding of what's going on, so that way your barrier isn't like, oh my gosh, don't just overcome this. But like, no, the barrier is still going to be there, but now you could overcome it, or you could cross over it much easily
Yeah.
and understand what's going on versus like completely removing it. You cannot remove
I
it.
like that too, because you're also not necessarily trying to change the person you're coaching, right? You're just trying to identify who they are already. And so that like the hurdles become more, it becomes more realistic to overcome them, right? I really like that actually. Because that sounds daunting to be like, you need to change your money beliefs, right? Which I'm sure there's part of that happens over time. But initially it seems like it's about awareness and addressing who you already are, right? And what beliefs you already have.
Yeah, and so much of the conversation in social media now is like, oh, awareness is the first thing that you got to do to change something, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
Right? And how do you actually tackle that? And the way I tackle it, I have like 4 different levels. And that last level is actually diving into like an old opportunity and having that extra layer of like aha, right?
Yep.
Having that aha moment come right at you. So I have like 4 different steps that I take in order for that level of awareness to really be there versus, oh, just be aware of it and then you'll change. That's not how it works, right? So you have to like go through that process.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, I know we only have like 7 minutes left here for our allotted time. I can go a little over. I don't know what you're like.
I can, yep.
Okay, perfect. I feel like we need to do a whole nother episode
I
actually.
know, let's do like 2 hours of this.
I know, I'm loving this. I hope
I'm
you
learning
are.
a lot from you, just from you.
Are you?
know,
Oh,
share-
wow.
No, I'm learning a ton from you,
flattered.
man. Like sometimes
likewise.
your angles and your point of view, I'm like, I actually haven't thought of that before.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Wow. Same. This is why we jive, man. No, but I am really genuinely serious about doing another session but I do want to touch on it on this episode, which is how we started around us both being Korean Americans, coming from immigrant families. I've had a lot of kind of similar feelings that you've had around money as well with my parents and not feeling like we had a foundation here in the States, right, to sit back on. But my initial question is a little bit more broad. Like, have you, in terms of race itself and being Korean American, and you read my book, so you know I've thought about this a lot, feeling like the outsider just because of my background and how I look and how I'm perceived. Have you also felt those experiences? Maybe we could share a little bit about that and then leave a little bit of a cliffhanger for the next episode too.
Yeah. Um, I want to say that I grew up in South Orange County, so
Right.
just north of San Diego, like an hour north of San Diego.
Yeah.
I was born in LA, moved to South Orange County, and I I have I don't have a lot of Korean American friends.
Hmm.
I
That's actually
know.
surprising because South Orange County, there's a lot of Koreans, right?
I mean, Irvine was right next to where I grew up, so there's Koreans there everywhere. But I grew up in Lake Forest, which
Mm.
is the complete opposite demographic.
Ah, it's similar to my wife actually went to Newport Harbor High School. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, Newport Harbor.
Yeah, yeah.
I
She
grew up in
was
Lake
like,
Forest. I went to El Toro High, so I don't know if
okay,
you've heard of
okay.
El Toro High, but like
I haven't. No,
Laguna
yeah.
Hills, Aliso Viejo. Like I'm like nestled in that area.
I see, I see. So
That's where
maybe
I.
similar situation as my wife actually. Yeah.
So I have. I mean, I have some Korean American friends, but not a lot. It's
Yeah.
like I could count them on one hand.
Yeah.
Um,
Similar situation to me. Yeah.
so I never like really thought about. I realize I'm a minority. I realize that, but I never really used it to my advantage or like said, "Oh, look at me, like poor me." Like
Mm,
my dad always encouraged me to go out there and just do like work really hard,
yeah.
like every Korean dad would do. um, if you don't
Yeah.
get an A, you're going to, what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, so I never really like. I, I'm aware of it, but I felt like even from an early age, if I dwelled on it too much, it was going to be a
Mm,
hindrance for me, and
mm,
it might me being Korean may have, slowed me down in different ways that I'm not aware of.
mm,
Um, and sometimes you could feel certain things, but sometimes your feelings are off, right?
mm.
And
Yeah.
so I just like to put my head down, work hard, and make a name for myself. I mean, like when I'm speaking in front of these crowds, man, like
Yeah.
there might be like one other Korean in the audience, and that's it,
Yeah. Yeah.
or Asian in
Yeah.
the audience, as a matter of fact, right? And so
Yeah.
I've I've never like said, I'm not, this is happening to me as a result of me being Korean. I just put my head down, work hard, and
Yeah.
let the results speak for itself.
That's great. I wish I had a little bit of that because there were definitely situations where I was like, hey, like this feels off. And the only thing I could point to was a comment that was like a microaggressive comment about my appearance, right? Me looking young or not having enough gray hairs, right? So yeah, but I feel like because of those instances, I've definitely career limited specific situations as well, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying there might have been some stuff
Yeah,
against me that
yeah,
I'm not aware of,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but I don't know. I remember like, I mean, you know, eighth graders and seventh graders are a tough crowd, right? And so I remember, when I was in junior high school, like kids would say stuff, and I'm like, man, that kind of hurts, or that doesn't feel very good.
yeah,
But like maybe I was in the wrong circle. I don't know. But like I found new friends when I was in high school, and like things just got better. But
yeah.
um,
I'm glad you're in the profession that you're in because just subjectively, there's not a lot of diversity, I think, in sales coaches or
yeah, there isn't.
sales like quote unquote influencers. I hate the word influencer, but a lot of people think of themselves as that. And I think the airwaves are pretty heavily dominated by people that don't look like us,
Hmm.
right? So much of that happens, right? Where you just don't know how to react. When I used to post, I should post more about identity, but when I started, it was therapeutic for me like 3 years ago when I started on LinkedIn. And I get so many DMs from people who weren't reacting to my posts and specifically saying, hey, like, I feel like your post really speaks to what I'm going through with my boss, but I'm not going to like it because I'm afraid of backlash. And so that like kind of fueled a lot of me talking about identity and bringing these stories to light. Um, and yeah, I'm just super grateful, like I said, for you being in your position, because I think it also impacts a lot of Korean founders and Korean sellers today. Like I still get messages from folks who are like 22, 23, 24, and they're still dealing with some of that same experience that you had at the Denver office. And then Korean founders, of course, it's compounded because they are insecure about their language skills, right? And so a lot of, I think, what I try and impart is like, hey, like we can also be powerfully confident and polished in a business setting. And so I just want to thank you for being an example of that, man.
I'm trying my best, man.
No, you're doing more than enough. But why don't we keep it at that for this one? We've covered so much ground. Really appreciate. I've learned so much. Even though we've been texting and exchanging messages, this has been like way deeper than I expected, actually. So I really appreciate you for opening up and for letting me ask the questions. Any final thoughts that you have before we close this up for our audience?
No, this has been great. I just truly enjoyed the conversation, and I know we're gonna have more.
Awesome. Can't wait for the Korean barbecue. That'll be the preamble for the next episode.
It'll be the live conversation, in-person conversation.
Yeah, exactly,
recorded.
Exactly. Yes. Can't wait. All right, man. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks.